Good day guys, come here, welcome back to Langrisser M news from the future. So on this, well, only part one of the video because we have been welcoming our fifth entry of LLR characters to the Langrisser family. It is none other for the month of October 2025 to November 2025. In the CN server, we welcome LLR heroine Sonia, or should we call her in this transverse or exit version as the Heaven Defier. So yep, and this is the month where only one hero is being released as a single banner, and it's none other than LLR Heaven Defier, aka LLR Sonia. So before we carry on, a great thanks to impatient chat and provided by Langrisser M, Soyu. And before we proceed, let's check out this artwork that is specially drawn and made for the characters. And yep, as usual, due to the age restrictions and for commercial purpose, what you're looking at right now, the chest to belly portions that is in shaded in dark colors are, well, for more family friendly version. The actual version is, well, let's just say the black veil is not supposed to be there. So as you can see, there's a new version. She is taking on, not only has she entered a exit version or transverse version, the weapon that handed to her by her elder brother Roga has evolved too. So yep, it has been confirmed by Team Zilong itself that the artwork of this sword held in her hands is actually the sword handed to her by her brother Roga. So that is the evolved version of the original SR characters for the sword. Then standing behind her, it's demonic soldiers. Yes, it's a demonic soldiers, but I gotta say, this art style, this ideology, I can't help but to think that it's kind of loosely based on the bizarre adventures of JoJo. Yep, think about it. She's standing on this cliff, that art, and behind her stands this great summon-like creature that is holding on to another great and bigger weapon, assisting her. So yeah, I can't help but to think this is kind of like a JoJo theme or meme. But of course, if you guys has other perspective or suggestions, do write it down in the comment sections below. And without further delay, let's get started. So as usual, the video is split into three parts. Part one is character backstories, then voice pack. Part two will be what everyone is excited about, the skills, talent, 3C factions, and on part three, we'll be going through on the pros and cons and characters building released for from players in the CN suggested build in the CN servers. And of course, this time around, due to the fact or due to the way that Zilong has been doing some unexpected last minute update, so at the end of the day, some of the talent or skills effect may or may not have changes. So let's go through. And don't worry, watch to the end for the translations of the characters, talent, faction, skills, and 3C I've done for you guys. Okay, so the art is break into two. One is Sonia alone, and one is her summon. So apparently there has not been a direct name given to us about that demonic summon creatures. Okay, very nice art. Again, the asymmetricals on this time around is on the lake area and the shoulder area. But I gotta say, this new art is pretty sexy, strong, nice, elegant. Wow, the shoulder armor is like a combinations of both Atla and Elwyn, or Bozo and Elwyn shoulder plate. It just gives me this idea, I guess. And some players actually previously voiced out that the weapon, the sword, is actually very long. So just some clarifications. The white portions that you're looking at is not the sword, but it's actually the shape of the sword. The red black portions to the handle, it's the sword itself. Sonia is actually doing unshading of the sword actions. And this is a great view of the summon itself. This is pretty cool, gigantic summon. Despite looking like a demonic creature, I gotta say this, based on the horns, the hair, it actually gives me the impressions that this is like the beast, like an overload beast form of what Goon would look like if he used his full power. So some of the shadings, the gray, the dark gray horn and the white hair of this wolf-like demonic creature actually kind of give me the impression of what Goon from the Echo of Toy War should have looked like if he unleashed his full power. And you guys can check out, I want to mention some of the resemblance, the chain on the wreath itself. But overall, I gotta say it's pretty cool. The hardest cosplay to do, I guess, will be the Heaven Defier as of this current date. Okay, some more in-depth details will be her eye, her pupils. Okay, her eyes looks even more prettier. There's like a transverse or exit versions of the original Sonia. The iris and pupils original is just shiny yellow, if I'm not wrong, and it has now become, I don't know, opal or rainbow like. Yeah, definitely very nice. Then of course, okay, she's voiced. So before you go through the backstory, let us go through the voice actor. She's voiced by Miss or Mrs. Let me check it out. Okay, let's see if she is married or not. Okay, it seems that based on Wikipedia that I read, she seems to, her status is still single, so I will refer her as Miss Sato Miyuki or Miss Miyuki Sato. So she has voiced some of the following recent anime and game characters, and I gotta say, sorry guys, I do not know any of the characters on the left and on the right. Yeah, so if you guys know about it, kudos and thumbs up for you guys. But I do know that she voiced one of the characters from one of my favorite Final Fantasy game, that is, she voiced a characters in Final Fantasy 15 that is actually the male leading characters, Noctis, Lucius, Calum, in his child version. So she voiced as the kid version of Noctis. So yeah, kudos, male leading characters. And all right, so a little bit about the backstories. So try my best to translate word for word, so maybe right, maybe wrong, so let's just hit it out. Okay, first line. She walked through the collapsing land. Behind her follows the roaring of giant demonic army. Her eyes burn ablaze, but it is not the fire of vengeance. It is the endless expectations of tens of thousands in Horion. This world has been destroyed due to its bet on everything in one's hope, but yet it lands on her hand and it has been rebirthed from chaos. So not too much has been explained. What we can find out roughly understand from the information, I'm not sure if this is she came from the world of the overlord path of Elwyn, perhaps on the bad empire end of Elwyn where he dies, because during, if you guys remember the game or Art of Story, during that event on 3rd or 4th of story, Sonia with Rogar has been fighting the Jessica Prime and Emilia, but as the temple or the dungeons that are fighting at is collapsing, they do not really tell us or showcase the endings of Rogar and Sonia if they die, and it seems that Rogar has been trying his best to protect her. Of course, I can't really remember the content. I may be right, may be wrong. So perhaps it might be what happens afterwards. Okay, so it says the world she's at is already collapsing. She walks upon the land, and following her giant army of demonic soldiers. So she has been leading them, and she is not returning for vengeance, even though her eyes are burning with burning. Yep, but it's through the endless hope and expectations of tens of thousands of Enharion. So when they say tens of thousands of Enharion, it seems that more, if not most, of lots of heroes in the world has already died, and for some reason the world actually bet on something. It bets everything on something, and yet it is destroyed, or the bet on that thing has caused destructions, and yet it falls on her hand, and she managed to let the world rebirth from chaos. Oh, okay. Based on the related relationship with the heroes, just Sonia herself, and you guys can see the original Sonia from the mobile as an SR character. She's not having a proper headdress. She's just wearing a bandana around her head, so you guys can check out. I have been noticing early on that the headdress she is wearing has some striking resemblance in design with Elwyn, and as a lot of players know, she, as a character, she kind of is also one of the characters who fall in love with Elwyn. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, at least she is a character who has been following and respect Elwyn a lot. Okay, so further explanations of the backstories. So here we go. So from this line onward, During the danger times or times of dangers, Roga used his life or sacrificed his life to protect Sonia. Facing the sacrifice of her brother and a world that is reaching its collapsing point of time, Sonia turned the pain of sadness and turned it into a will. She turned everything into a strong will. This will resonance with countless of fallen heroes on the battlefield. Their indestructible power force break through the limits of life and death, and it reconstructed her as a being. And now she will walk through the burnt land, leading giant chaos beasts and herself transform into a new law, challenging wars against the old world. So last but not least from this bracket sections, loosely translated as and is a speech from her. The vortex of light and darkness grew even deeper, and the powers of man and demon become even more intertwined. So I guess she in the story we do not have too deep of exposure between her family bloodline lineage with her brother Roga and her father and mom. If I'm not wrong, the father is supposed to be a demon unit, then the mom is a human, so she's supposed to be a halfling, and she never really get to like fully manifest and fully expose or use up her lineage potentials. And I guess this is like a expansion or power version of a story on what if she have been able to tap into all this power. Like, you know, we always say a lot of games has always been mixed race, like human and demon or human and holy or goddess. They always like grew strongest because human has a potential to grow, and perhaps that is the same for Sonia, but of course this is just my perspective. Then we have this chibi cute little art by Mao Xiaotu, Liana Grande Curie. This is very cute indeed. The wavy hair of Sonia. So yeah, apparently the world she's in is in destruction, and apparently the way they talk about how Roga sacrifice is strikingly similar to or during the Imperial arc, or should I say the arc leading to the end of King Elwin, the path of the lone emperor road. This is where Roga and Sonia fight against Jessica Point and Amelia, and as the place that they are staying at is going to collapse or crumble. So perhaps this is like the normal end of that path, but without the interference of Jessica Prime and Amelia. But of course, who knows? This is just my speculations. So, right before we go to part 2, let us go through the character speech of Sonia.
私は灰の中から蘇った。すべては運命とやらを打ち砕くために。すべてを見届ける勇者よ。どうかもう一度、私と共に歩んで、 この光と闇が交錯する狭間で、新たな道を切り開こう。私は灰の中から蘇った。すべては運命とやらを打ち砕くために。すべてを見届ける勇者よ。どうかもう一度、私と共に歩んで、この光と闇が交錯する狭間で、新たな道を切り開こう。
So alright, that's her summoning speech, and okay, allow me to try to translate it as possible. So based on what she said is, I have returned from the burning ashes for the sake of trembling the so-called fate to pieces. Hero who witnessed it all, please travel with me once again on this darkness and light intertwining reef. Let us break through this new path together. Okay, this is like a first iteration. So apparently it has been said she kind of like rebirthed. She came back from the burning ashes for the sake to fight against this fate. She want to trample the fate to pieces because she wants to step upon fate. And the heroes addressing to us, heroes that witness this all, let's travel with her together on this intertwining light and darkness reef, and together we shall break through a new path. So yeah, so quite similar to the Lone Emperor wrote of Elwyn, that they do not believe on fate, whether it's good or bad. They want to take things their own hand and create something by themselves, taking things whole by themselves. So yeah, that's it for the part 1, and now we'll be going to part 2 and see if there will be any more further backstories before we go through the talent skills 3C. Here we go. So alright, welcome to part 2 of the video. So again, before we go on, I got to tell you guys some good news and bad news about this banner. So let me share with you the bad news first. There's only one bad thing about this banner, is that instead of the usual 35 days or 5 weeks or 4 weeks, this LLR has been shortened to only 21 days, aka is a 3-week banner. I may be wrong, but based on my understanding, it seems that Zilong is trying to adjust the time frame or time limit of the summon to the so that they can renew the game on the first week of a new month. So yep, this is only a 3 weeks banner. So for all of you guys who like this design, like these characters, and is a fan of the LLR Heaven Defier, well, you guys got to stack up your tickets and up your games, so before she runs out in only a 3 weeks period. And of course, if you're gonna one last thing, so that's a bad thing. The good thing is, if you're gonna ask if she good and strong in PvP, PvE, the answer is definitely yes. So the reason it's kind of weird, I guess, this time now, for the sake of promoting the Heaven Defier, they have been upping the game. Of course, this is just my opinion, so hear me out. I feel that they make her that strong is not because just because of a talent effect, but because of the fact that they greatly increase her offensive stats. That makes her able to kill off enemy easily before her rest of the talent and other effects can trigger. Yes, because she's a character that need builds up, but her own stats given to her by Zilong is fairly high, so she can easily obsolete any strong unit without too much of like stat stacking, etc. So without further delay, let us carry on and you'll find out why I say that. Here we go. And a great showcase. So this is already, you guys can see that this is actual original design. So you can see the chest sections. It's, well, she's showing the underboob. There is no gray veil covering the doo-doo. So alright, oh, further backstories. So I knew it. They always put in extra backstories on the part 2 sections. So allow me to go through this part and we shall start off with the rest. Alright. So as it says, a young lady born mixed blood, carrying the sad fate. And she is a hero that rebirthed from the burning ashes. She has witnessed sacrifice and betrayal. Witnessed how the world turned into a purgatory formed by chaos. But she decided to hold on to the power of her brother and her companions. And in this new power and new form of styles, she break through the dominations of darkness by commanding the giant demon. She has only one target, that is, I have returned from the ashes for the sake of trembling fate to pieces. Heroes witnessing this all, please travel with me together once again through this intertwining reef of light and darkness. Let us break through a whole new path. So, yep, some backstory. So she's a lady carrying a sad fate, being born as a mixed blood, because in the backstory, she has been bullied and punished by people just because she's born of mixed blood, demon and human, so she's like a bad omen, etc. So she has experienced all the negative and worst of her time, and being reborn now, she did not lose faith, she did not turn evil, and instead she reborn as a better person based on the text here. And this is why, perhaps this is why she is known as the Heaven Defier. Okay, with that, we have finally ended the backstories and we will go to the actual stuff. Alright, LLR Heaven Defier Sonia at rank 6. The faction buff is Glory of Light, Darkness, and Reincarnations. What? Oh, okay, because she has rebirth from the ashes, she has reincarnations, and she has both the light of the power of light and darkness. So she is from Glory of Light and Darkness Realm. Well, you guys are in for a surprise. I'll just let it out of the bag in case you feel that she's not able to do any faction buff. Well, great news for you. She is the third new class buffer. Okay, we'll go through in a little while. So okay, again, please check out the video to the end for the translation I've done for you guys. So this is her talent icon. So she's leading a giant demonic beast that surprisingly is assisting her. Okay, so the talent effect are as stated here. Okay, loosely translated as deciding balance of brilliance and darkness, or deciding balance of light and darkness. Effects are follow. Number 1, increase attack defense by 30%. Number 2, power of brilliant darkness. We'll short form it as POBD. So at the start of a battle, if you are a demon class, you will obtain 1 layer of power of brilliance with following effect. So we will call it POB for power of brilliance and POD for power of darkness. So we'll go through power of brilliance effect first. So power of brilliance has the following effect. First, increase normal attack range by +1. Second, increase hero's battle damage by 0.3 times. Number 3, at the start of battle, if you are cavalry class, you will obtain 1 layer of power of darkness with the following effect. So POD has the following effect. First, when you initiate battle, ignore close combat penalty. Second, increase mobility by +1. Number 4, when you initiate attack into battle, recover 15% of damage due to your HP. Number 5, POD and POB can be stacked up to 3 layers, and the effect cannot be immune nor dispel. Number 6, after you normal attack, gain 1 layer of POB. Number 7, after using skills to attack, gain 1 layer of POD. Number 8, when an enemy on the field die, the following will happen. First, Heaven Defier will gain either a layer of POB or POD, whichever is lesser. Second, if you already entered, you can act again. Third, act again effect from talent can only trigger once per turn. Number 9, at the start of a battle, you will gain each chance. Number 9, at the start of battle, you will gain each chance of revive upon receiving death blow from either physical or magical damage. And afterwards, you'll be revived with 20% HP, and the following will happen. First, all stacks of POB will be removed upon reviving from physical damage source. Second, all stacks of POD will be removed upon reviving from magical damage source. Third, you can trigger revive effect upon regaining max stacks of either POD or POB to gain its respective effect. Last but not least, ruling of the effect as explained by the stone developer from Zilong. So number 1 is that when enemy on field dies and you have equal amount of power of brilliance and power of darkness stacks, you will gain power of brilliance stacks first. So priority will go to power of brilliance first when both are of equal amount. Number 2, for the act again effect, when Heaven Defier initiate attack and kills an enemy directly it will not trigger. Number 3, surviving death, blow, and revive effect will respectively remove the following sequence. So if you die from physical damage, you will remove all power of brilliance upon revival only. Well, if you dies from magical damage and revive, upon revive, all power of darkness stacks will be removed. Third, you can revive once from each type of the source of damage. So yep, it's sorry that it's pretty long, even though the text here seems shorter, but I'm breaking into bits by bits, so the effect and the rulings will be more specific and clearer for understanding. And this is why I strongly urge you guys to watch till the end for the translations I've done for you guys. So let us we go through on some of the effects, the pros and cons. So you guys heard about her effects, the power of brilliant darkness, POBD. So it basically consists of 2, power of brilliance and darkness, and both of them has effects. So first off, she has a greater stats, offensive stats increment from a talent of 30% attack defense increment. And second is the power of brilliant darkness. So for brilliance, when you have to charge each stack, so brilliance and darkness can stack up to only 3 layers, and brilliance give you normal attack range increment by +1 and damage deal by 0.3 times. So if you're on, and at the start of battle, if you start off with demon class, you obtain a layer of POB straight. However, if you start off with cavalry class at the start of battle, you'll gain 1 power of darkness straight, where power of darkness allows you to ignore close combat penalty when you initiate battle. And not to mention, the cavalry class give you an additional of mobility increment by +1. So this means that if you have power of brilliance at max stats, you will gain +3 attack range. Okay, so your attack range will be, well, if you are a close combat unit, the base will be 4 blocks. Then you can gain 0.9 times damage increment on top of your normal attack. Then for power of darkness at max, it's only 1 you gain great benefits, because the first one is when you initiate battle, ignore close combat penalty. So even if your stacks increase, it's not gonna further strengthen you anymore. However, the best is at 3 stacks, you gain inbuilt of +3 mobility. And do know that POD and POB are individual talent icon. So as the effect states, POD and POB can be stacked up to 3 layers. So as you can see, the effect cannot be immune nor dispel. And if you guys have seen my previous older videos, as of this current meta or version, or from 6.0 onward, Zilong has been doing explanations that if you see talent effect that states cannot be immune nor dispel, this is not a buff nor debuff. You can only treat this as a talent effect. So it's like an individual section by itself. So it's not considered a buff nor debuff. Then next is you will gain charges. You can gain this stacks. So if you do normal attack against enemy, you'll gain a layer of power of brilliance. Whereas if you use skills to attack, you'll gain a layer of power of darkness. So this means it is easier to gain the mobility and ignore close combat penalty when you use skills to battle, because there will be a higher chance of you using skills to fight against target enemy than normal attack. So the high chance of a normal attack is usually when your skills are all in CD. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then alright, then not to mention normal attacking and using skills will be slow for you to build out stacks. However, sorry, not however, but to resolve this slow, time-consuming stacking of effect, they have an additional extra adding on spices to your skills is when an enemy on the field die, you will gain a layer of POB or POD, whichever is lesser. So for example, if you have 1 stack of Power of Darkness, but 0 stacks of Power of Brilliance, if an enemy on the field die, you automatically gain 1 stack of Power of Brilliance because it is lesser. But when both are of equal stacks, the priority will go to Power of Brilliance. That is, so you have a higher chance to increase your normal attack range by +1 and gain hero damage. So this is pretty cool, and this will straight up happens when you just gain 2 stacks straight up, because you'll be using your 3C or your range skills to attack an enemy. So you're using skills, you straight up gain Power of Darkness, and after enemy die, you automatically will gain Power of Brilliance, because during that time Power of Brilliance will be lesser. So this is a very balanced or great faster stacking up. Then not to mention, if you already enter, when an enemy on the field die, you can act again. So this is pretty cool. This is basically taken from the effect of the recent release, Rapier. So yeah, talent also, this is pretty cool, and this is very generic. You don't have to use specific enemy with like icon buff, debuff, or talent effect. As long as you already enter, an enemy on the field dies, you gain either POB or POD and you can act again. However, the downside is that if you straight up attack the enemy with your skills on normal attack and the enemies die from Heaven Defier attack, you will not trigger act again straight. If not, this is gonna be too OP and ruin the game. Instead, you can only trigger act again when your allies help you kill off the enemies. And do know that the act again can only be triggered once per turn. So this is the greatest restriction. This is not a CD. There's not like upon trigger you enter the 2-turn CD before you can trigger again. So even if you try to act again, you're not able to re-trigger this. So this are considered a lower tier act again. This is like a Dragon Mom ISO that style of act again. Then last but not least is at the start of battle, you'll gain each chance of revive upon receiving death blow from either physical or magic damage. Okay, so I'm not sure if we'll gain up both straight up. We'll find out more during part 3 or from the actual detailed demo play when it comes. So we'll find out more later. But nonetheless, but based on text, it said at the start you will receive 1 revive each from each type of source, either physical or magical damage. So if you die from each of it, you'll be resurrected with 20% of HP, and upon resurrections, all stacks of your Power of Brilliance or Darkness will be removed, and this is not a down. You don't have to worry too much here. You can gain or you can farm the resurrection stacks by regaining max stacks of POD or POB, meaning you got to kill off at least 3 enemy each, and then you gain the stacks. So okay, that's all, including the ruling explained by the developer team. So yep, LLR Sonia, it's with the intention of being OP because of the developers trying to help in pushing up her stats and etc. And that's why I guess she's OP. Some pro players in CN server has been trying out a top tier build Landers, and Sonia has no hard time killing Landers in a ranged battle. Okay, we'll go through now on exclusive skill 1 to find out more and about why she's strong. So basically she has 2 types of class, as you can see, demon class and cavalry class. So choosing each of the class will decide on the type of talent effect you'll gain at the start of the battle. And this time around, Zilong is very sweet and nice. They do some further elaboration on what you can equip with on the class. So exclusive skill 1, known as Brilliance Darkness Spiral. Oh, sorry. Nope, not yet. Oh yeah, sorry. This is a skill effect. Brilliance Darkness Spiral. And okay, for Demon class, in addition to your original equipment, Sonia or Heaven Defier can be equipped with sword, lance, and she can wear heavy armor. Okay, Brilliance Darkness Spiral effect are as follow. It's a 2C skill, a CD of 3 turns, the range is 2 block, the AoE type is physical single target. This skill is both passive and active skills. So let's go through the passive effect first. Number 1, if you have 2 types of POBD effect, while you initiate attack, you will attack first. Number 2, after battle, you can teleport your unit to blocks within 3 blocks range. Okay, that's all. So 2 effect, and like I said, she's a mash out of a few characters, which we will talk about it after the end of the 3C description. So the passive effect is when you have 2 types, meaning you have power of brilliance and power of darkness. So when you initiate attack, you get to attack first in the battle. So that's pretty great. And number 2 is after the battle, you can teleport yourself to any blocks within your 3 blocks range. So you can attack and teleport back away from the enemy. This is pretty cool because as a teleport effect, this means you'll not be restricted by a lot of effect, especially against characters like Landers, where his 3C effect stops enemy from moving again. So instead of moving again, you are teleporting away. So this is a very good effect for assisting in surviving. Okay, next we have the active skills effect. It is as follow. Number 1, attack and deal 1.4 times damage to target enemy. Number 2, for each layer of POBD stacks you have, apply 1 random debuff effect to target enemy before battle. Number 3, these skills ignore close combat penalty, and close combat soldiers you had will attack together. Okay, yep, this is a 2 blocks reach skills effect, and despite the low damage, I gotta say, do not look down on the skills, because if you combine it with her talents effect, this is a very strong skills. So okay, if you are demon class at the start and you start off with power of brilliance, you have a 0.3 times default increment. So this skills is actually 1.7 times, dealing 1.7 times damage instead. And the second effect, which if I'm not wrong, again we'll be finding out more on part 3, is it is mentioned here that for each layer of the talent effect you had, you will apply a random debuff to target enemy. So you can have 3 stacks of power of brilliance and 3 stacks of power of darkness. This means that you can apply up to 6 debuff to target enemy before battle, based on my understanding. This is like one of the strongest and OP single target range skills, physical attack range skills I have seen after 7 years of Langrisser. And not to mention, this skill is very nice. The fact is that about the last thing, it says this skills ignore close combat penalty, and close combat soldiers you had will attack together. Despite the talent that's stacked up, if you start off with cavalry and you had the power of darkness, you will ignore close combat penalty. So in the event that you has 0 layer of power of darkness charges at all, when you try to use these skills, you will not suffer any penalty at all. So this is too OP. This is a very great production. This is her own form of air slash with a lot of upgrades, I will say. And not to mention, after attacking, you can teleport away from the enemy, so great survivability. And at max stats, you have like range increment. Oh no, sorry. If you gain power of brilliance, only increase normal attack range. So I don't think it will add up your range, but nonetheless, it's a very strong skills. I mean, 6 debuff before battle. Oh, I mean, especially if you're using these skills to fight against tanker, it's actually a nightmare for them. Like, especially they gain debuff effect like unable to heal. This is the worst nightmare of all for most tanker units. Okay, that's it for exclusive skill 1. A lot of surprise and whoa, a lot of explanation and surprise for the skills. Yep. Oops, sorry to show. So as mentioned here from the developer, so it says Heaven Defier can at a max limit of gaining 3 power brilliance of power of brilliance and 3 layer of power of darkness. And that's why exclusive skill 1 can deal a max of 6 debuff against target enemy before battle. And this is too OP. Oh my god. Okay, definitely great for both PvP and PvE players. Okay, next we will have exclusive skill 2, Call of Demonic Abyss. So it's a 1C skill, the CD range and AoE type are now. This is the 3rd class buff we are getting. So why do I say 3rd? Allow me to recap you guys. So the 1st class buff we had is the Light Summoner, aka Elma 2.0, where her 3C gave a class buff to all holy units, all holy soldiers unit. Then next we have, with the introduction of the casting or rune emblems of SP Leon or Leon, that unlocks that when he casts his chivalry, all cavalry units on the field will gain, well, you can think of it as a class buff for cavalry units. So Leon, so from Light Summoner for Holy and Leon to cavalry, and not to mention Leon has this global passive that increase offensive abilities for cavalry units too. So yep. Then now the third, finally after such a long time, we welcome the third class buff, and that is from the Heaven Defier exclusive skill 2, Call of Demonic Abyss. So this skill is only passive, and here we go. Number 1, when you either first end turn or when any unit on the field dies, the following will happen. First, increase the offensive and defensive stats of all ally units that are of demon class on the field. Second, when you initiate attack into battle, increase damage deal by 15%. Third, units will ignore class advantage and disadvantages. Fourth, effect lasts for 4 turns and will not stack with other faction or class buff. Okay, basically it just states as effect will not stack with other faction buff, but I'm quite sure that it will not stack with other class buff too. So yeah. So okay, with this release of this class buff, this will help assist demon class units characters, and one of the recent addition to the family will be SP Bozo. So SP Bozo is our first SP Demon unit. So he will not benefit from the ignore class advantages effect because he has this inbuilt gimmick, but with this class buff from Sonia, he will gain stats increment, and if he chooses to initiate attack into battle, he will do additional increment of 15% damage increment. So that's pretty cool. But not only Bozo, other demon class will gain this effect, and especially for PvE players, if you're playing or using Heaven Defier in all your challenge and other stages, you can just start changing all your other mage unit to their respective demon class counterparts if they have any, and you can just bring along Heaven Defier, and they will just be stronger than before, and they can ignore class advantages or disadvantages when they battle against holy units. That's pretty cool. Okay, one thing that is not mentioned here is, what if you choose cavalry unit? The developer did not mention, but based on the test play from during the beta testing from the pro players in the CN server, even if you choose cavalry unit, Sonia will gain the class buff. So this is like the buff work similar like Light Summoner. Even if Light Summoner choose to change her class to infantry class, she will still receive the class buff for herself. Oh, sorry. It does say, sorry, my error. Sorry, it's my translation error. I missed out. So it will cause Sonia, Heaven Defier, and other ally units who are of demon units on the field. Yeah. Okay. So just some clarifications, and some other clarifications is for the demon units, the mobility is 4 blocks and the attack range is 2 blocks. So demon units is a range attacking unit. So exclusive skill 1 and 2 comes from the demon class, and exclusive skill 3 will be from the cavalry. So the demon class is just showing Sonia going to battle by herself, while the cavalry class show her riding on this giant demon unit. But it's just very strange that the design of the characters does not show her riding on this unit. Instead, it has been like standing behind her, protecting her, as if it is like the stand from the Bizarre Adventures of JoJo. Okay, so the cavalry class has 5 block mobility, movement, and the attack range is only 1 block. Yep. So this is a description here, and exclusive skill 3. Okay. Loosely translated as Burning Eye. It's a 1C skill, a CD of 3 turns. The range is self-cast. The AoE type is single target. Again, it has both passive and active skills. So let us go through the passive effect first. Number 1, when you initiate attack into battle against enemy, if target enemy physical defense is greater or equal than magic defense, this battle, the damage deal will become magical damage instead. Number 2, after you use skill to attack into battle, you will gain an additional effect as follows. First, when being attacked into battle by skill, immune all damage. Second, effect cannot be dispelled. Third, this effect of damage immunity will be removed after being attacked into battle. Oh, okay, this is a very strong surviving and offensive skills. It's a passive effect with both offensive and surviving ability. So when you initiate attack against enemy with physical defense equals or higher than magical defense, this damage deal in this battle will become magic damage instead. But it has been tried out. Do note that despite this damage will become magic damage, however, it is still treated as, initially you treat as a physical attack, so the enemies is not using magic defense to block against your magic damage, but it's magic damage against physical defense. So if enemy's defense is still greater or higher, they will still be nonetheless the enemy will still be using physical damage, physical defense to block against your attack. But because your damage is magical damage, you will do higher damage against them. If that's the case, then second is pretty cool, is after you use skills to attack into battle, this additional effect you gain is only for skills. When you're being attacked into battle by skill, you immune all damage. This effect cannot be dispelled, but it's a one-time effect, because upon triggering, or this effect will be removed once you're being attacked into battle. So yeah, the only downside is if you gain debuff effect that do not allow you to receive buff effect, then it will render this effect useless. Okay, so very strong passive effect. Active skills are as follow. Number 1, cast and heal 30% of your max HP. Number 2, for each stack of POBD, dispel 1 debuff effect from yourself. Number 3, after using these skills, you will gain 1 layer of Power of Brilliance or Power of Darkness whichever has a lower stack. Number 4, buff turn you had will not be reduced when you use these skills, and you can move 3 blocks and attack again. So okay, we have it. This is her own version of Act Again or Chivalry. Despite not gaining direct additional offensive stats, but she's gaining the charges that she has lower in amount of, which in returns give her or strengthen her ability. So Power of Darkness will gain additional 1 block movement. Power of Brilliance will increase 0.3 times damage and normal attack range against enemies. So this is pretty cool. And this is a normal Act Again. You gain 3 blocks and then you can attack again. So not too bad. So the greatest plus is definitely from the passive effect. And that's it. So yep. So it's a self-healing, gaining 30% of max HP. Then, okay, I can say the strongest point is also from the active is the second effect. For each stacks of POBD, dispel 1 debuff from yourself. This means you can dispel up to 6 debuff from Heaven Defier directly. So, so not too bad if you get hit by characters like Baba. The max debuff she can do is 10 debuff, but normally a lot of times debuff effects will repeat itself, so there's chances that you might not be gaining more than 6 debuff, and this is just enough for Heaven Defier to clear off most of it, or if not all of it. And not to mention, definitely you guys will be equipping with other equipments to protect her. Okay, last but not least for part 2 is the 3C effect. Okay, loosely translating as defying logic of slaying abyss. Okay, this 3C has a CD of 5 turns. The range is 2 blocks. The AoE type is physical single target. Again, it has both passive and active skills. Okay, let's go through the passive effect first. It is as follows. Number 1, when battling with demon class units, increase Heaven Defier stats by 20%, excluding HP value. Number 2, for each layer of POBD stacks you have from your talent, increase damage by 10%, capped at 30%. Number 3, PvP only. When you have 3 stacks of POBD and initiate attack with enemy into battle, the enemy cannot trigger survive death blow or revive effect. Oh, okay, that is not too hard. So wow, despite she is a class buffer for demon class, she is also a killer against demon class, because when fighting against demon class, she has stats increment of 20%, excluding HP value. Then next is for each layer of POBD stacks she has damage increment of 10%, but capped at 30%. This stacking up with Power of Brilliance 0.3 times at 3 stack is 0.9 times damage increment, stacking with 30%, which I'm going to presume is another 0.3 times. She will do a total of 1.2 times damage increment against enemy. So how can an enemy not die? Not to mention that her talents at rank 6 is giving her 30% attack defense increment. So this is very OP. So wow. Again, creating another killer unit against Papa Vargas. So okay, Then third is only PvP only, is when you have 3 stacks of Power of Brilliance Darkness, then when you initiate attack with enemies in the battle, they will not be able to trigger resurrections or revive effect. So yeah, 3 stacks, so it can be either 3 stacks of Power of Brilliance or 3 stacks of Power of Darkness, or 2 on either side and 1 on either side. That adds up to 3. So yeah, not too much restrictions, so this is quite generic, not too bad. And last but not least, we have the active skills. Okay, believe me, the active is even more OP. Okay, here we go. Number 1, attack and deal 1.6 times damage to target enemy. Number 2, dispel 5 buff from enemies before battle. Number 3, after battle, deals 0.3 times AoE damage to target enemy and apply undispellable debuff effect known as Curse Wounds, which is basically healing reverse effect to damage enemies for 2 turns. Number 4, when using these skills for each stack of POBD you had, after battle, increase the range of the follow-up AoE damage by 1 ring or circle, capped at +3 ring or circle. Number 5, these skills ignore close combat penalty and melee soldiers you bring will attack together. Okay, last but not least is ruling explanations from the developer team. The debuff Curse Wound AoE range will be increased to after the battle with 3C skills. The range of AoE will increase based on the number 4 effect, which is when using these skills for each stacks of POBD you had after battle, increase the range of the follow-up by 1 ring or circle. So you will attack with these 3C first, and the AoE based on the text here is the last to trigger after you waiting for you to trigger after you have gained the stacks of your POBD to your characters. So this is pretty strong, and the max is that it can goes up to 3 ring or circle span as a follow-up AoE damage. And not to mention, it's this debuff. This is like a stronger debuff because this healing reverse effect is undispellable and it lasts for 2 turns. So if at the start your characters do not have any immunity or item equipment that immunes to Curse Wounds or healing reverse effect, if you got hit by these skills, there's no way for you to lose it but to wait for 2 turns, or you just got to trigger act again to wash off the skills. So this is very deadly, especially when this skill hits against unit that performs the roles of tanker. One example will be against characters like Papa Vargas. Even if he survived this 3C attack, afterwards if he tried to heal, he will just only damage himself, especially if he can healing effects from characters like Tiaris. Yep. Instead of healing based on 3 times the talent, you will be damaging yourself. So yep, let's repeat again. So this skills deal 1.6 times damage. Then stacking up by default, this skill is 1.6 times damage. But if you stack up with the passive and the talent effect, you can deal up to 2.8 times damage against enemy. And not to mention, if you are fighting against demon unit, you gain additional 20% stats. I will just pardon me for the max calculation, I will just loosely say that it's gonna be, you'll be dealing more than 2.8 times damage if you're fighting against demon units. That is very OP. And don't mention this as a newer version of Sword Soul, because you dispel 5 buff from enemies before battle. And like Sword Soul stops you from healing for 2 turns, but these skills apply Curse Wound against you for 2 turns, and like Sword Soul, the effect cannot be dispelled. And not to mention, after attacking with these skills, you have a follow-up AoE damage against all enemies, and all the damaged enemies should get the healing reverse effect. So because it stays after battle, you do the 0.3 times. So this is pretty strong and awesome for your side, but it's very awful if you're the one getting hit from these skills. Okay, so we have come to the end of part 2, and this is some of the new soldiers unit she'll be gaining, and we'll be going through during the live demo play. I'll be skipping the soldiers unit explanation on this part of the video. So yeah, overall, she is kind of like a even more mix up and power up version of some older characters, like the revive effect. The first one that came to my mind is King of the Crimson Moon, that he can refarm off his Bloodshot, and for Sonia case will be Power of Brilliance and Darkness, so you can farm as long as the game do not have turn limit. Technically speaking, you have infinity chances to gain your revive stacks. And next will be, she have either early on I said she has rapier effect. I'm wrong. She has like similar to, okay, either rapiers or Andril's effect, as long as any enemy on the field dies, you can act again. So there's like a power up version of that talent, because like for Andril is the ally you swore loyalty to, if you kill off the unit, he can act again. This is very generic. Any enemies on the field dies, you can act again. So this is pretty cool. You don't have to care as who, but as long as enemy dies, you act again if you already end your turn. And not to mention, you also will gain the additional layer of either Power of Brilliance or Darkness, whichever is lesser. Then from her other skills, especially exclusive skill 1, the passive effect allows her to teleport. That is, we have not seen such effect for a long time. I can't really remember other characters except for the first character with these skills. That is from our collaborations heroine Kayura from the Samurai Troopers Ronin Warriors collaborations. So this has been a very strong and very cool skills. So they kind of mash her up with physical and magical skills, because she can do magical damage. And not to mention, she is going to be the first physical attacker that has insane long range, because the Power of Brilliance will increase her normal attack range by +1. So the max is 3 blocks increment. So the original is 1 block, so 1 + 3, you can attack 4 blocks if you're using cavalry units. But if you're using demon unit, it will be 2 + 3, that is 5 blocks. So suggested soldiers you need to be bringing with you will be ranged soldiers, so you can enjoy the max benefit. And that's it. We have come to the end of part 2. It has been long, but bear with me guys, it's definitely worth it, because she is a very strong and OP heroine. The only downside I'll say is for PvP, you need to build up her characters. She need a little bit build up, unless your character is very strong and you're confident enough that you're able to one-shot the target enemy you intend to kill. If not, high chances is that she'll need to wait for turn 2 setup to gain or able to easily reach at least 3 stacks of her POBD from a talent effect to gain higher or more benefits from damage and offensive ability. Okay, we'll go to part 3 and check out the pros and cons and suggested item builds of a character. Alright, we have come to part 3 of the video, and due to time constraint during the time when I do the recording for this video, and because of the short listed of this banner, which is a 3 weeks time frame, and Heaven Defier come out during the S23 competition, and at the point where when I'm recording this video, the competition is only holding on to halfway, entering the top 16 only, and currently we are not able to provide too much in-depth breakdowns of the pros and cons, so we will do whatever we can see here, and on part 3 is definitely more towards PvE, but of course there will be some suggestion for PvP. Do note that things may subject to changes on the upcoming build. So alright, before we carry on, a great thanks to information shared and provided by the Langrisser Data Bank, 梦幻美站资料库, and thanks to 知道王 for doing all these memes pictures for Langrisser. So on the left, well, if you guys can understand, you understand. On the left, the 2 basketballs are alliterations of Sonia in the past, and the basketball on the right is alliterations of Sonia of the present. So we'll be talking about, we'll explore regarding the power of brilliance and power of darkness states. So, so these are the individual icons. So the power of brilliance refers to Sonia because it's an icon of Sonia, and the power of darkness refers to the giant demonic soldiers or the demonic unit. So I explain here, power of brilliance is stackable up to 3 times. Power of brilliance increase your normal attack range and battle damage. Power of darkness increase your mobility, and after initiating attack into battle, you can recover HP. Oh, so sorry, very sorry about it. I'll do the changes of my text at the end. So early on I said wrongly. I just mentioned as after you initiate attack into battle, you recover 15% of damage due to HP. That is actually for power of darkness. So there are some clarifications. Oh, but that's where there is no mentioning of when you initiate battle, ignore close combat penalty. I'm not sure if there is like a new update that removed that, or and brilliance and darkness stack and maximum 3 layers, and their effect can stack upon each other or stack up. So Heaven Defier at full stacks, it's they refer as a chimera monster, has an additional +3 normal attack range and a +0.9 times battle damage rate, then adding on to a +3 movement mobility and 45% HP recovery, because for each stacks of Power of Darkness, you recover 15% of damage due to HP, so the max is 45%. So I'm not sure if this is a clarification, this is like a error of translation at the start, or this is like a last minute changes. So sorry about it. Okay, so you guys can see from this mean, +3 normal attack range, +0.9 times damage rate, +3 mobility, and self-recovering of 45% damage dealing to HP. And the below is why we say she is very strong and OP. If your normal attack is treated as dealing 1.1 times damage, if you stack with a max stack of Power of Brilliance, you will be dealing 1.9 times when you normal attack an enemy. So can you guys imagine just a normal attack dealing 1.9 times damage instead of using skills? This is too OP. So this damage, normal attack, they're using this meme or comparison. It's this normal attack from Sonia at full stack is stronger than Elwin's Sword Soul damage, and is slightly higher. So the pros is one normal attack at full form from Sonia is equivalent to almost 2 attack from 2 heroes. So yeah, they do some stats comparison. So in case you guys want to compare the damage due between Kasumi and Sonia, so Sonia damage is falling a little behind Kasumi only, just in terms of damage power. But other than that, she wins Kasumi in a lot of aspects, including mobility, range, etc. So we're just talking about damage here. So talking about some of how you gain the stacks and at the start. So if at the start your demon unit, you obtain 1 layer of Power of Brilliance, then if you normal attack your enemy, you gain another stack, another layer. So easily on first turn you can gain 2 layers of Power of Brilliance if you are using, if you start off with Demon class. Then for Power of Darkness, if you change your class to Cavalry, you obtain 1 layer of Power of Darkness at the start, and upon using skills to attack, you obtain 2 layers. And aside from these 2 methods, in addition, as long as enemy on the field dies, or when you use your Burning Eye Act Against skills, you can make use of either of the effect of the situations to gain an additional Power of Brilliance or Darkness, whichever is layer. So this is the icon. So you can check again. So it's mentioned here with picture showcasing here, so it's easier to understand. So the first one shows Demon class. At the start, you gain 1 Power of Brilliance. Even normal attack, you gain another 1. Then for Darkness, so the Brilliance give range increment and damage increment, where Power of Darkness gain mobility and HP recovery. So if you're using cavalry, you gain mobility 1 stacks, and if you use skills to attack, you gain another stacks. Then to gain additional effect from your talent at a faster pace is if enemy dies or when you use your act again skills to recharge one of a lesser layer. Okay, the resurrection and act again. So okay, it's two different, so it's two individual resurrections effect. So the first icon again from the right, you see at the top right is Power of Brilliance and the bottom is Power of Darkness. So if you're being killed by physical damage, you'll remove all Power of Brilliance and you'll revive. Then if you're killed by magic, you'll remove all Power of Darkness and then revive. Then when either of its respective charges reaches 3 layers, you obtain the revive effect again. Then if Heaven Defier already end her turn, then followed by an enemy that on the field dies, she will be able to act again. So apparently in her talent, it's not written that when you initiate attack to kill off enemy, you will not trigger act again. So this become an additional unmentioned indirectly unmentioned ruling is that you will not trigger act again when an enemy dies by Heaven Defier's hand. So you can only trigger act again when an ally assists you to kill it off. So to trigger the act again, you can through ally killing the enemy or through counter attacks of killing the enemy, or when enemy jump into the poison terrain, and other other ways to, if they die, to trigger the act again effect. Then the exclusive skill tree, Burning Eye, regarding the passive of when enemy physical defense is greater than magic defense, the damage. So if enemy's magical defense is higher, you will do physical damage, and if magical defense is higher, physical defense is higher, you will do magic damage. So vice versa. Okay, this is the icon that from Burning Eye, that when being attacked into battle by damage, immune all damage, despite there is no CD at all, this effect will be removed upon triggering. So this greatly enhances and allows her to survive in battle, because any skills upon triggering this effect, any skills that cause her to go into battle once the first time, she'll be immune to it. So she will be able to take hits and survive battle. And not to mention, when using these skills, the maximum is you can heal back 30% of our max HP. You can dispel up to 6 debuff as mentioned, and at the same time you can recharge either POD or POB, whichever is lesser stacks, and then followed by act again, move 3 blocks and attack again. Okay, the rest is quite generic. Okay, she has a class buff for demon class unit. Okay, more specific mentioning of her pros followed by cons. So we're talking about the pros first. As mentioned here is number one, she has very high damage and attack output. She has self healing stats. She has self healing. She has self stats increment, and she has damage increment, attack first, and she has weakness see through of enemy, which is the dealing magic or physical damage against enemy. Number two, she has very great survivability, resurrections against two types of damage source, and immune to skill damage, have self-recovery. Third is she has a lot of great aspects, great skills mechanism. She has long leg, long hand, self buff, and a high rate frequency of act again ability. Then what about cons? So cons will be number one, POD and POD definitely need a specific amount of time to regain and charge. Okay, here is a mix of PvE and PvP, so do be clear. Then if you're fighting against single unit boss characters in battle, you'll not be able to regain the stacks by killing off minions in stages or events that there's only one enemy units, like boss characters. And number two is you lose a lot of benefits when you're fighting against a single boss unit characters. Then number three is speculate that she has lesser controllability because she only has high offensive stats, and also only have one effect, that is healing reversal, though she has that 2C skills that can give debuff, but she do not have controllability, like causing enemy to lose control or stunned, or causing them not to be able to do anything, or render the enemy useless. So this is just some speculations, but overall she doesn't really need too much of the controlling effect unless it's for PvE against boss. But in PvP, her own stats itself is very strong. Okay, and last but not least, we'll be checking out the suggested item builds for the characters page. So, yep, this is the suggested item builds for the Heaven Defier. And also the stats. So in case you're wondering about the characters born and stuff to unlock, don't worry, LLR characters, they do not need characters to unlock. So all you need to do is unlock all their class. And okay, it's pretty cool that the cavalry unit has WoW battle. As you guys can see, the movement icon is with feathers. This means they can ignore terrain. Any possible terrain is treated as normal terrain. So you can see the attack range and the mobility in comparison. So demon units has battle stats overall. Okay, the heartborn effect for cavalry followed by demon. So for cavalry level 4, when unit's HP is below or lower than 70%, when you go into battle, damage you receive reduced by 10%. Number 7, for each block you move before battle, increase damage deal by 3%. The max limit is 15%. Alright, this is quite generic, and it's very rare to see mobility effect in characters born. It's quite rare. Then Demon Class level 4. When unit HP is 100%, damage received reduced by 10%. This is pretty cool. Generic effect. Level 7. When battling with units with debuff effect, increase damage deal by 10%. This is also quite generic, not hard to achieve because of her skills that can give debuff. Exclusive skill 1, Brilliance of Darkness Spiral. Yeah, because exclusive skill 1 is applying random debuff effect to enemy before before battle. Oh gosh. And okay, skills that you unlock from the path. Okay, also other soldiers that you can bring along, but don't worry, we'll go through more in depth during the demo play. So right, the current PvE and PvP build as a current release, which is on the 2nd week only. So there's a PvE build suggested, and the enchantment will be full moon or clock. So if you want to enjoy higher stats, will be full moon. But if you want to play, you know, skill spamming, you can tag team her with character like Celica to give her the Alchemist armor. So you can do 100% clock trigger. You can keep abuse and spamming your 3C or 1C skills as you like. And PvP build suggestion. Okay, so the enchantment will be for the new Brilliant enchantment or clock enchantment to go. So you can, well, because your 3C has higher damage and ability, if you can keep spamming your 3C when clock triggers, there's high chance that enemy will still die on this upcoming barrage of attack. So yep, last but not least, the rating for LLR Sonia is that she is definitely, in terms of PvE and PvP, tier 0 as of current meta, and as of the current top S23 ongoing competitions, we are already at the top 16, and of this current meta, any players who get to choose LLR Heaven Defier will definitely win the match. So she is she has the highest ban rate in the competition right now. So right, we have come to the end. Thank you guys for watching. What did you guys think personally about the Heaven Defier, aka Sonia? Leave it down in the comment sections below, and give my channel a like, thumbs up, and subscribe if you like. Thank you. This is Kami. See you guys, and goodbye.